Hello and welcome to this real short training. Excited to do this for you guys in this group. My name's Adam White. I am a online body transformation coach, and I have my own business which I've been doing now for 6 years, and I also coach select personal trainers on how you bring clients on board online and how you get them results which are as good, if not even better, than what you would get in person. Look guys, the reason I decided to put this training together is I offered out a copy of my book to everybody in the group, and I could only put 50 out in this group, and I got something like 160 replies. So obviously there's not enough books to go around. So I didn't want all of you guys who didn't get a book to go without. So I just thought I'd put this training together, which actually might give you a little bit more of insight and be a bit more of a concise way of you learning some cool stuff anyway, as the book, remember, is written for property people or busy people, but the formats I use, you will, being personal trainer, it's a very smart, work out quite quickly how to start incorporating that in for your guys. But as I said, what I've done here is I've put together the best bits, the highlights, I suppose, of the things which I suppose are the most important for you to think about when you go forward. So what we're going to do today is have a little look at how you can ensure your clients are compliant to their nutritional goals and the food diary, empower your clients to do more than you ask of them off their own back, how to get your clients to commit to your program for 12 weeks up to a year, how to coach your clients through their excuses, and finally make breakthroughs to achieve the results they actually signed up to get. So we're going to go through this nice and slow, but one of the things I want you guys to do before we start, just turn off any phones, get rid of Facebook, grab yourself a notepad and pen so you don't have to go back through this and try and remember all the bits, all the times where you want to make notes, and also come at this with an element of an open mind, because the approach that I use with my clients, and the reason it gets results, because in some cases it's kind of counterintuitive. Now some of this stuff will make sense, some of this stuff will be, you'll just be like, of course, and some of this stuff you might think to yourself, well, I'm not sure that's the way to go. But I would just say, come in open-minded, and I promise you, this is how I get results online. This is the only way that it works for me, and I've tried all the different formats. But I think you guys will get on cool with this. So let's crack on, shall we? So the first thing I need to do is make sure that we're all on the same page when it comes to what's important for our clients, when it comes to where they put their focus for results. So I think we'd all agree that, like, you know, you can't out-train a bad diet, and killing yourself in the gym is not going to get you into shape. So really the focus that everyone really needs to put their mind to is on their habits, their lifestyle, their mindset. And I suppose, and the side effect of doing those things would be exercise and nutrition. So I want to really make that clear here from the get-go, that it's not about exercise and nutrition. And it's something which we are, you know, I myself am guilty of giving a client nutrition plan, asking him to go away and follow it, him coming back the week later and going, I haven't done any of it, and then us going, well, come on, if you really want to change, you'd follow the food. But the fact is that we're just not that, we're not that robotic, you know, we don't work that way. So we need to understand that what's easy for us can be very hard for others. And it's the same for exercise. We have an indoctrination in society that we all believe that the way to lose weight is to obviously exercise as much as possible and eat as few calories as you can get away with. And we just know that's not really the case, right? But we need to be sure that not only that myself and yourself, as we go out and offer out transformations, we need to be sure that our clients are aware that it's not about exercise and nutrition as much as it is about mindset, lifestyle, and habits. And actually, if we break it down, the focus needs to be on those three things: mindset, lifestyle, and habits, and nailing them. Because if we do, the side effect will be we're more likely to exercise and we're going to eat better. Now, we're going to talk about how we look at mindset, lifestyles, and habits in a second, but I want to give you, I suppose, an example on why this is so powerful. So imagine you and I were going to go climb Mount Everest, and I said to you, look, grab your favorite coat, I'm going to pick you up, get your best trainers on, and we're going to just start climbing. You know, the odds of you actually coming on board would be, you know, really low. The odds of us surviving is going to be like minuscule, right? I don't climb mountains, I don't know if you do, but jumping on a plane and going straight there is probably going to be met with us dead on the side of a mountain. And that's because climbing a mountain requires a certain level of experience and skills that we just don't have. Now here's a really interesting thing. They found that in order to climb a mountain, you need to know 100 skills that have nothing to do with mountain climbing. So you need to know sign language, so you can communicate when it gets really windy. You need to know first aid, obviously. You need to know about chemistry in terms of oxygen regulation with masks. There's loads of these tiny little things that you need to understand before you can start climbing a mountain. Because the actual climbing of the mountain is pretty simple, right? One foot in front of the other, up you go. But the fact is, the reality is that it might be simple, it's just not easy. And as you go on that journey up that mountain, at different points, these other skills are going to come in handy, or they're going to be the difference between you carrying on, turning back, or not, you know, dying on the side of the mountain. For example, sign language, invented for people who are deaf so they can communicate. In mountain climbing, climb Mount Everest, the person at the front gives you a signal to say, avalanche, move. And if you don't understand what they're saying, that's where your journey ends. And when we start to look at goals around health and fitness, we can start to see some similarities in there. So if I said to you to go and Google nutrition plans, you'd actually find there's 5 million free plans on Google, on the internet right now. And the same for exercise programs. There's millions and millions and millions. And some of them will be crap, some of them will be fantastic though. You know, and if you actually follow them, our clients will get fantastic results, right? So would we agree that it's not really the content that's the problem, but it's the implementation that's the issue? That's where our clients struggle. It's implementing a nutrition plan, it's implementing an exercise program, it's doing it all consistently. So instead, what we need to realize is that actually climbing the mountain takes these 100 skills, and getting a body transformation, climbing our own personal health and fitness Everest, so to speak, also takes 100 skills that have nothing to do with exercise and nothing to do with nutrition. And they all come into, they all fall really under these sort of 3 main subjects of mindset, lifestyle and habits. And whereas exercise and nutrition do play a part, they're not the most important, I should say. So we've got these sort of 5 key things: mindset, lifestyle, habits, exercise, nutrition, that all needs to be conquered. But we don't get anywhere with just focusing on exercise or focus on nutrition, because that all requires willpower, and we're almost trying to crowbar a diet plan to somebody's life that doesn't fit them. Same for exercise, trying to crowbar what would be perfect and what they could actually achieve and actually keep doing are 2 different things, right? So we need to make sure that we are on the same page with our clients, and they understand that to get transformations, it's focusing on your mindset, your lifestyle, and your habits, and looking at every single one of those and understanding what you're doing in your lifestyle that's making it harder or easier for you to gain weight. What you do, what habits do you have that's making it easy for you to gain weight? What habits you need to change, and how to change them in such a way that it isn't too difficult. And when we get our habits changed, our lifestyle tweaks changed, and then our mindset really strong, exercise just sort of happens. Like when we've got goals, when we understand why they're important, and we really, really are driven to get to them, you know, when we look at our lifestyle and work out what are the things that's actually making it harder for us to achieve our goals and fix them, then look at the habits and do the same thing, then exercise really becomes like it's just a side effect. It just happens because we are, you know, we've got ourselves to a position where we're really concentrating on what's important. So we kind of know this as PTs, but our clients really don't. And the first thing we need to do is have that conversation. So that, if we're not on the same page with that, they're always going to be off thinking they can outtrain a bad diet. So let's jump to the next slide. So here's the thing. The first thing we need to understand then, before we can even start implementing any of these things and trying to fix mindset, lifestyle or habits, exercise or nutrition, before we can even start that conversation, we need to ask ourselves a big question. And that's, do you understand your client's secret goals? Are you aware of why your clients are training with you? Not the kind of answers that they would tell you, but the answers that, the things that are really important to them, that maybe they're not just going to tell you straight off the bat. And I can tell you this straight away, it is not about weight loss. Your clients do not come and see you to lose weight. Losing weight is the side effect of what happens when they get their goal. Yes, absolutely. But that's not why they're here. They're here because they're in some kind of pain. And your job is to ask the questions and really make sure that you hold them accountable to understand exactly what it is that what pain it is that they're actually in. So is it confidence? Is that their main thing? Is it the fact that they have, I've got clients who said to me, I have such low confidence that I can't even wear one t-shirt out in public. I have to wear two, even when it's really hot. I mean, that's some pain. That's something which they've been doing, they've said, for like 15 years. When the summer comes around, they dread it because it's so hot and they're wearing two t-shirts. People ask why, and then you say, I'm cold. I get cold in the summer and it's sweating. So there's some serious pain there, okay? They might say, I want to lose weight, and that isn't a lie, but that's not the reason, right? The reason is that if he loses some weight, if he can get his confidence up, he's going to be happier. Another big reason, relationship. What pain are people in with relationships? Well, maybe we're not in a relationship because we don't even have the confidence to speak to somebody. But we've never told anyone, so we've just let it sit in the background and we just kind of pretend it's not a problem. Maybe it's health, maybe it's a physical pain that they're in, such as injuries and so on. Maybe it's something as what seems simple but as debilitating as a lack of energy. If you're a CEO working in a busy environment, lack of energy is a big problem, and it's a lot of pain to solve. So we need to ask the questions: what pain is your client really in? And that can only come from asking questions and really making sure that you get to the sort of real reasons behind that. And there's a format for doing that. There's a conversation that you can have. So. But here's the other big insight that I want you to take here. There's only really 3 goals your client wants. Okay? They either want to get paid more, they want to get laid more, or they don't want to die. And that might sound quite crass and shallow, but let me explain what I mean. A busy entrepreneur, a busy man in his late 40s who's 4 stone overweight might have such low energy and might be in some physical pain and have some health issues on the horizon, that his business is now starting to suffer. He's not able to work every single day. He's taking naps in the afternoon. Okay? These are the things that are affecting his business, and his business in his mind and in his heart is the biggest priority in his life. So as soon as his business gets affected and it starts costing him money, then that is a problem that he needs to fix. And if he knows that his energy levels, his physical state and his health and his confidence, it can be as well, is stopping him from doing what he used to do 10 years ago and stopping him from bringing in an extra 10, 15, 20, 30, 40k into his business a year, then that's a big problem to solve. So getting paid is a big motivator. And it's a goal it's not everyone's goal, but it's definitely the top 2 here, getting paid, getting laid, are the top 2 reasons people will do a body transformation program in general, will push themselves harder when they really understand what's being affected. So getting paid. Getting laid. Now, sounds crass. I just like it because it rhymes. What I'm saying here really is just everything that kind of covers, right? So relationships. Maybe you've got somebody who's married and their sex life has pretty much, keeled over and died in the last year because he or she, they've got such low energy and low confidence in themselves and so on that they don't even initiate sex anymore. Their partner then thinks that they're unattractive, and then starts worrying what it is that's wrong with the relationship, and the relationship gets worse. And I've had clients tell me this stuff. If I don't fix this, my marriage will end. That is a motivating statement, right? That's something which is going to get people moving. You could be single and you just can't, bring yourself to go out on dates, or you have no confidence talking to the opposite sex and trying to get that part of your life back on track. It might be that you want to start a family and you just can't do that unless you have the confidence to go out on a date or meet somebody. So these are massive problems. We're not just talking about losing some weight here. We're not just talking about getting into a nice little black dress and all these sort of things that go flying around in the summer. It's not about that. It's not about the bikini body. It's about the things that really matter in their lives. Getting paid, getting laid. And the last one is not dying, which should seem like the obvious choice, right? So that's the one that I think most PTs will generally go towards, where you want to be healthy, you want to be living long and fit and so on. But the fact is that most of us think we're immortal. And that immortality gene in our brain almost stops us from believing that that's a possibility. But we do believe that we can that it can happen, and it is for some people, but usually these people have had something happen. So usually the doctor's told them some bad news, or maybe they've had a stroke or something like this, and just sort of shocked them, given them the catalyst to move. So that can be a motivating factor as well. But 9 times out of 10, more often than not, get paid or get laid is going to be one of the biggest reasons on why your clients want to change. Okay, so more money, more confidence, better relationships with your partner, or getting into a relationship, or not losing your marriage. So that's so important for us to understand when we start asking questions about what it is that's really the problem what's the real reason behind these transformations? Why are they doing this? And it's so important that once you can understand that with your client, you can then always be that voice to remind them of what it is they said to you on that day. So once we understand what it is that our clients are doing this for, why it's so important, so when we understand our clients' secret goals, when they're on the same page of us in terms of the approach, that they know it's not about exercise and nutrition, they need to focus on these mindset, lifestyle habits, we then need to start looking at ourselves a little bit in the sense of how do we go about putting this into a format that is the most powerful way of getting these transformations. So that would mean, look, we want to be coaching rather than personal training. And look, coaching, sometimes some people have, I don't know what your opinion is on the word coach or coaching or any of this stuff, but the fact is, like, life coaches gets thrown around a lot, doesn't it? But the fact is there is a distinct difference in the style between a coach and a personal trainer, or a coach and a trainer in general. And the first thing I want you to think about here is it's not about you and where you're at with your own stuff as a personal trainer and where your validations come from. This is about your client, and this is about making sure that they get the transformation that they've invested in. Now, if you've got a client who has, let's say, been with you for a year, and they haven't really got many kind of like things to talk about in terms of results. Maybe they've kind of got a portion of the way of their goal, but they've just sort of stayed where they are. But they still train with you, right? It's up to you. And look, I'm not here to tell anyone what to do or how to do it, essentially, in terms of the moral implications behind having a client that's not getting results. But my thought is this. If you've got a client that's not getting results and you're still taking money from them, then it's not about the client, and it's just about your bank statement going up. It's about getting the money in, paying a bill. And I get it. Personal training, it can be hard. We've got to make sure we pay the bills. But if we're not getting results for our clients, then we need to be asking ourselves the question, why? And we need to be asking ourselves the ethical question is, should I be charging to keep giving them the same plan. Because as Einstein said, the definition of madness is doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome. So it's not about you. So you think that we take that client who hasn't got results. Maybe the problem there is there's going to be a few issues in terms of coaching that we want to watch out for. But maybe the problem there is that actually we're coaching them, or we're personal training them, and we've almost become friends, right? And when, imagine trying to get results for your brother or your sister or your parents. Like, it would be really hard, right? Even your best friend, because the relationship that you have with them is completely different to the relationship that you would have with a stranger. And if we fall into this friend zone with our clients, where it's just sort of nice and easy and we sit and chat and they go through the motions and so on, then when it comes to actually having a conversation where it's a little bit more awkward, where you have to be more of the parent, or more of a professional role, where you're basically saying, look, this isn't good enough. If you don't do this, we're not going to get our goals, and really hold them to it. It's really hard when you're in that friend zone. It becomes harder to do. So the first thing would be this. Don't allow yourself to fall into that friend relationship with your client. You can be friendly. Don't mistake it from being friendly, polite, and have a conversation. But they need to know that you're a professional at what you're doing, and that when the times are needed for you to be holding them accountable and asking the tough questions, that you're going to be doing that. So we don't want to be friends, but we also don't want to be parents to them as well. Okay, that's the other mistake I found, and myself included, that PTs do, is we almost become a parent role. So when our clients say things to us like, "Oh, I really need you to, you're going to be so mad at me," or "I need you to keep me in check this week because I've been so naughty." Like, all these things, they're putting themselves in this sort of child role, and they're making you the parent, like the parent of their health and fitness. So they've been naughty, so you have to sort of tell them off. But it's okay, because they're just a kid, so they don't know any better. And that's a really dangerous place for our clients to go, because that relationship just starts to there's no development. They're already an adult, they're not a child. So an adult acting like a child in their health and fitness will always act like a child if you let them stay there. So there's no growth there. Children grow up to adults and then start looking after themselves. If you're already an adult, we can't fall into this parent-child relationship with our clients. So we need to fall into this professional relationship. And just think of it like this. If you were a doctor, or if you went to see your doctor, whatever your doctor said for you to do, you would do, and whatever they recommended, you would more than likely do it. And if they told you some information about your situation that you weren't aware of, you'd listen. You're not having a great time. You're not sitting there chatting away. You would listen. You would take it on board. You understand the gravity of the situation. So we need to be more professional when we're dealing with our clients in terms of the conversations we have around their results. Once again, that doesn't mean that we have to be, impolite, or it doesn't mean that we have to be cold or distant to our clients, but we need to go at the situation with a level of professionalism that they respect. So that when I sit down with a client, an example I'll give you was a client the other day. When I sat down with one of my clients and they told me that they hadn't done their food diary for the week, or they hadn't done what did they say? I didn't drink any water for the last 5 days. And they said, "Oh, I know, you're going to be really mad at me. It's so naughty, I should have done it." And I have to be really honest and say, and I start asking some questions in a professional manner. Start saying things like, "Well, tell me, what do you think the result of that's going to be if you keep doing that for the next 2 weeks?" Ask the question. 9 times out of 10, the answer will be, "Oh, I don't know, probably won't get anywhere." Cool. Are you happy to just not get results then for the next 2 weeks? No, I want the results. Okay. So do you recognize how important this is? Honestly. Yeah, I do. Okay, cool. So what do you need to do now, today, this very minute, to avoid that becoming a reality? I need to start drinking more water. I'll get my bottle. I'll make sure of it. And how are we going to make sure that it's happening so that the same thing doesn't happen for 4 days? I'm going to send you a picture every lunchtime of me drinking the water or with my bottle. Just so it's up there, so we both are on the same page. Okay, cool. Sounds good. So look, that's the professional approach we need to start taking in every area where there's not an adherence to a plan that we set. But here's the next step. The next point is this. Look, we need to recognize as well when we're giving our clients information or when we're setting them up for failure. Okay. So, really cool phrase to have in your head. Also, when you're talking to clients to come on board with you as well, it's a slightly separate situation, but it's telling equals selling. So when you tell somebody anything, you're selling them on it. So if you tell somebody that you don't need to eat, or you should eat eggs and spinach for breakfast every day because it's a great protein breakfast and it'll keep you full and you won't be hungry. By you telling them, you're selling them it. You're trying to sell them on an idea that's yours. And the problem is trying to sell somebody on an idea that's not theirs is that they just don't really buy into it. Not as much as if they came up with it themselves. So it's my idea versus your idea. And my idea is never going to be as strong as your idea. If I can get my client to have the idea themselves, it is 100 times more powerful than me just telling them. So I want you to think about that film Inception, I don't know if you've seen it, and that essentially is all about incepting an idea into somebody's brain, so it was their idea, and then they stick with it. It's so powerful rather than just trying to tell them. And that's what we're trying to do essentially. We're trying to incept these ideas. So your client turns around and says, I need to have breakfast. I need to have bacon, eggs and spinach for breakfast. Or eggs or protein. Yeah, awesome. We need to get them to the answer. We know the answer, but if we just give it to them, it's way less powerful, and it's also our belief. We need for them to come up with their own answer. And that's coaching over personal training, and that makes the inception of that event is so much more powerful, and they're so much more likely to stick to it when it's their idea. So, as an example, we will look at a client who I had who in fact, bear with me 1 second. Let's have a look to processes. Now we'll come on to we'll come back to that in a second as I cover it in a second anyway. So just first of all, this has been quite a fast thing I've thrown together, guys. So just bear with the jumping around of slides. I just want to make sure I don't forget anything. So moving on. So we've got so once we understand that we need to coach our clients, we then need to take them through the process of coaching. So the big thing for us to take away, if you take away nothing but this from this video, is go slow and then go even slower. In terms of what you ask your clients to focus on from week to week, you cannot go small enough. In some cases, one thing to focus on a week is more enough. And I'm talking about like just water. Like the only thing that you guys agree, you and your client agree that they do is drink more water. Nothing else. Not trying to get rid of chocolate, not trying to get breakfast nailed or lunch or dinner, or trying to get to the gym 5 times a week. None of that is important. We need to ascertain what are the big rocks in their food diary and their lifestyle diary at the moment, and work out what things are going to make the biggest impact and they're the easiest to achieve. That isn't going to be so hard that they can't achieve it, but not so easy that they don't think about it. So we focus on going really slow, and I suggest that you set 1 to 3 goals for your clients each week. And they should be based around habits and lifestyle mindset, not so much about nutrition and exercise. So we need to go through the processes of this. So then we'll use a client example again. So I had a client who would only have a pizza a night, and he would eat that pizza at about 7:30, or a few bags of crisps about 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. Then he'd go to bed. So he'd only eat once in the entire day. And the rest of the day he worked as a busy floor manager at a really busy hospital. So telling him to exercise 4 times a week and giving him a nutrition plan to take food into to work and so on was just not going to be realistic. The most important things that we needed to focus on was consistency around basic goals that you and I would follow without thinking twice. So, breakfast, lunch, dinner, making sure that we just start incorporating them into our lifestyle. And he was just having, like I said, 1 pizza. So it's easy to kind of go, right, let's start with breakfast and let's get this guy eating a nice healthy protein breakfast. Well, that's the goal, but the process of getting him there isn't that simple. Because the process for him is doing something he's never done. So it's a bit like you in the gym with somebody, and the goal is to get them really strong in, let's say, in their lower body, their legs and so on, really strong. So that's the goal. And then it's like you just go and shove them under a 100-kilogram bar and say, right, start doing back squats. Well, it's not going to work, right? They've never done them before. They're just not going to pull it off. So you need to do the same, have the same mindset when it comes to looking at your clients. Specific, each client's different, and specifically look to see what's going to be too much and what's going to be too hard for them to achieve. So, for instance, this client, we'll call him John. He, like I said, 1 pizza a week. 1 pizza a day, sorry, at 7:30, 8, or a couple bags of crisps. So it's far easier for me to focus on the meal he is having than the meal he isn't. So all we did is we set the goal for week 1 for him to drink a pint of water with that meal. His idea, once again, asking him questions. We worked out, he told me what it is that he needs to improve. He needs to drink more water. He needs to get breakfast, lunch, and dinner in. And he needs to make the dinner better. So we focused on dinner, improved dinner. His words again, just me asking questions. What do you think is better than pizza? Sandwich. Cool. I'm happy with that. It is better than pizza. So that's where we start. How do we go about getting water into your day, John? I don't know. Maybe I could just buy a 2-litre bottle of water. Cool. Could you walk around with that all day? Probably not. It's too big. So what else can we do? And look, I know the answer. It's a pint glass on his desk, and it's a half-litre squeezy bottle, sports cap. It's my job for him to come to that conclusion himself. And that's all we did that first week. In fact, it might even go on for 2 weeks. That's all we did, is focus on getting the consistency of decent lunch, dinner, and water. And after week 1, we then said to him, what do you think would be the easiest thing to do after now we've got dinner looking pretty good? Would it be lunch? Would it be breakfast? Probably breakfast. I'm not a big fan of breakfast though. Awesome. What do you like to eat at any time? I don't mind yogurt. Cool. So then we started to incorporate breakfast. And then over the weeks, slowly but surely, his breakfast started to change and morph into the protein breakfast that we actually want him to have. His dinner meal started to improve, and then we also got him bringing lunch into work. So I'll come back to this same guy to show you how you fix a habit as well in 2 seconds. That's the next part. But the point is this: nice and slow is what these guys need, and they need to come up with the idea themselves. So it's getting them obsessed with the processes, but not the scales, not anything like that, but just the processes. And they need to understand that these processes are where it's at. So when it then comes to accountability, we need to make sure that our clients are doing the things that we set out. So when they come up with the idea of what they'll do, so John says, I'm going to drink squeezy bottle throughout the day, I'm going to have yogurt for breakfast, I'm going to ask him straight up, how are you going to show me that that's happening throughout the week so that I know you're doing it? And he tells me, I'm gonna send you a picture of me eating the yogurt every day. Awesome, I'm happy with that. Or I'm going to set an alarm on my phone. I'm going to text you to say just finished breakfast. Awesome, that's fine as well. You know, so we want the accountability, and if it's not happening, that's when we jump on them. John, it's Tuesday. I didn't get a picture of your breakfast that you said you were going to send. Why not? Oh yeah, no, I got up late. Okay, John, what are you going to do? How are we going? Are we happy to stay where we are then, or are we ready to change? I'm ready to change. So what are you going to do tomorrow? I'm going to get up and make sure it happens, and then you can get them back on track. And we essentially wrap, like we can do that in real time throughout the week, but I generally do it in a 30-minute call once a week where we look at our goals, we set our focuses for the week, we then work out how we're going to achieve the goals. So my client's really clear, and then we go ahead and actually go and implement it. And then at the end of the week, we look at what we did well, the wins, what we didn't achieve, and we work out why we didn't achieve them, the real reasons, and we set our plan for the week ahead. But nice and slow. It's so much easier for our clients to stick to this stuff. So then we've got, like we said here, processes. So it's all very well and good to say, let's fix a habit. But I think a lot of people have this belief that fixing a habit is as simple as just changing the habit. So for instance, I have cereal for breakfast, now I'm going to have oats for breakfast. So the problem with just trying to change a habit is that if that habit, think of habits like weeds in a garden, and we can pull the weeds out, but if we just pull weeds out, the habits out, and don't do anything else, those weeds are going to grow back. So what we need to do is we need to pull the weeds out, then we need to put a new habit in place. We need to plant some flowers, and the flowers are our good habits. But then if we just plant some flowers and walk away, those flowers will die after a week or two if we don't tend to them, and then the weeds will come back. So we need to understand that we have to pull the weed out, we have to plant the new flowers in, and then we have to tend the garden. And only then do we understand that we can keep that habit at bay. But we must recognize that the minute we stop tending that garden for whatever reason, those weeds will start growing back. So this belief that a habit can be gone forever is just not true. Think about what alcoholics consistently say to themselves years and years later. They don't say, I'm no longer an alcoholic, I've beaten the habit. They say, I'm a recovering alcoholic. They still give themselves that label because they understand how easy it is to slip back if they stop doing the processes. And I want you to understand that when you're with your clients and working on habits. And more importantly, for them to understand that. So, how do we overwrite a habit? Well, let's look at an example of John here and what we did with one of his. So John didn't have the habit. We had a habit of skipping lunch at work. So to overwrite that, we had to come up with a process that made it easier for him to eat lunch than it would be to skip it. So one of the things we did after 2 or 3 weeks is we agreed that one of the good habits that he's going to start doing, a new habit, which is different from fixing an old habit, but a new one, was to, in the evening, make a really quick packed lunch. And we did that, and he'd pop it in the fridge, and then he would wake up in the morning, go to work, and ultimately forget to take it with him. So just because we made he made the packed lunch, it wasn't good enough. It wasn't a strong enough change for him to go and take it. It just, that habit wasn't formed. So we had to take an existing new habit and hook it into this. An existing old habit and hook it into this new habit. So what we decided in the end, and once again, this comes from his brain, not mine. That's where the power is. Remember, he came up with the idea. I asked him a very simple question. I said, "What do you always leave the house with? What do you always have with you when you leave the house that you never forget?" And he said 2 things. He said his phone, and I said, "Okay." And I already knew what I wanted to do with him. I said, "Okay, what else?" And he went, "My keys." And I went, "Okay, cool. So what could you do with your keys to help fix this problem of forgetting your lunch?" And he just said, "I could put my keys in my lunchbox. So after I make my lunch in the evening, I can put my keys inside the lunchbox, put the lunchbox in the fridge, and when I leave the house in the morning and I can't find my keys, I'll remember they're in the lunchbox, and then I just pick the lunchbox up and leave the house." Perfect. That's what he did. The last time I checked on him, it was maybe 6 weeks ago. We stopped training about a year ago. He says that he still does that as a habit now but he doesn't need to, but it just happens naturally. Like, he just puts his keys into the thing. It's just something he does. His girlfriend thinks he's a bit weird, but that's cool. He now eats lunch every single day. So that's how we kind of overwrite habit and fix one. And this is what I mean. It's about empowering. It's about empowering your clients to find the solutions themselves. Because if they can come up with the answers, they've got the skills, right? Like, these people, like, you know, if they're working in decent positions, even if it's working, you know, all of us as humans, we have this ability to work out problems. We just need to be given the tools sometimes and the ability to think about it. So when it comes to fixing habits, that's our approach. When it comes to keeping the habit sustained, it's your job to make sure that they track that habit, write that habit down, so they know what they've changed. And if something starts to change in their life, they start to gain weight, they can go back and look at this list of new habits, work out which one they're not doing, and re-implement it. So then, look, empowering your clients to empower your clients. How do you get them to do more stuff than you've given them to do? Well, that really comes down to their mindset and comes down to what their goals are. The more you get them to think about it, the more you get them to think about what it is that they're doing this for. More importantly, what are they pushing away from? So what pain are they going to solve? And then look at it from the other view. What pleasures is it going to bring them? What's going to improve? What can they fantasize about? How can they get themselves there faster? You know, and that kind of positive reinforcement of their goals is so important all the way throughout your transformation process. So when you ask your client, so look, you've done everything that we've set to do this week. Tell me what else you could do now if you had an extra half an hour this week. Sometimes that's all it takes. What else could you do if you had an extra half an hour? One of my clients said, I could do some yoga. Okay, cool. Are you going to? Yeah. When? Wednesday. Wednesday after work, I'm going to do an hour of yoga. An hour? Blimey. You sure? Yeah. Awesome. Go do that. Let me know how you get on. And then all you got to do is just, when that little, you know, when that little flame is lit, you've just got to nurture it, and it'll grow. You know, they'll start doing this more and more. Cool. I appreciate this video has gone on for a little longer than I anticipated. Turns out that it's not as quick as you reading the book, or maybe it is quicker, but it certainly isn't a 10-minute job. But we're nearly near the end here, guys, so I just want to talk to you a little bit about how you stop your clients from making excuses, and how do you retain your clients for longer. Well, excuses always come from, I suppose, a fear of looking bad. So pride, being hurt from not doing something that somebody said, is a big one. Or they're going to come, they're going to happen because the client thinks they can get away with it. So that comes back to ourselves again. How much freedom, or how much, what is the relationship like between you and your client? How much of a friend do they feel that you are, that they can start getting away with stuff? So how do we stop excuses dead? Well, we need to just have a conversation. When a client's not doing what it is we set to do on a weekly basis, we need to sit down with them and have a hard conversation about why. And look, we know when it comes to some excuses are fine. I rushed off to hospital. I got hit by a bus. You know, I'm sick. I couldn't go to the gym. That's cool. But excuses when it comes to eating meals, drinking, and so on, we need to be able to say to our clients, look, it's not a case of living like a monk. I'm not saying don't eat chocolate or anything like this. Let's say one of your clients just didn't go to the gym for a week. And I say to them, I had a client very similar to myself recently, and I said, so tell me why you didn't go. And he said, oh, my partner came over for the weekend, and we just, you know, she kind of got in the way, and we just kind of got on and did stuff, and I just didn't have any time. And I said, okay, so tell me, what was your training program for the week? What did you have to do? I had to do 15 minutes twice this week. Cool. So are you honestly saying that for the entire period of time that you were with your girlfriend, that you didn't have 15 minutes where you could have trained? And they might say, no, I didn't. And then I would say, look, how long have you been trying to get this goal? And they're going to say a year and a half, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, doesn't matter. Okay, what do you think is the direct result from not doing this exercise that we've set? That I won't get my goals, my targets, right? Are you happy with that? Are you happy to stay where you are? No, I want them. Okay, so why didn't you do this? I'm just a bit fed up, and I'm not sure it's working. Awesome. Now that is an answer I can work with. Why are you fed up? Why do you think that? Because excuses, more often than not, like I said, it's either pride, something else is really the problem and they just don't want to tell you, or they're manipulating you. And they might be manipulating you because they don't want to do it, or they think they can get away with not doing it. Or pride is something else that's really the matter, and you need to get to the real crux of it. But look, the more you hold your clients accountable when they start trying to make excuses, the less they'll make excuses, the more they'll just do the work. Or they'll just quit. Because we can't make somebody do something they don't want to do, right? We all know this. But we can certainly give them the best chances possible to get the results. So, last part here then. How do we retain our clients? How do we get from 12-week clients all the way up to 52? Well, first thing is this, guys, right? If you're doing blocks with your clients, a block of 10, you need to ask yourself a really simple question. Is that block of 10, me seeing them once a week, is that enough of time? Or let's say you see them twice a week for 10 and it's over a month, 5 weeks, right? Is 5 weeks enough time for them to get their goals? Now, take the money side of it out of the equation, but just look at the simple maths behind it. If somebody needs to lose 2 stone, they could do that in 12 weeks. If they've got 4 stone to lose, they won't do that in 12 weeks. They certainly won't do 2 stone in 5 weeks either. So we need to start looking at making sure that we tailor our programs to the client's goals. Okay, it's like buying a plane ticket, and you want to go to Australia, and that's 2,000 miles, and your plane. So the airport goes, "I'll sell you 300 miles to start with, and we'll see how it goes." You'd be like, "No, I want to go to Australia. I want to get to my destination. So sell me a ticket that takes me 2,000 miles." And look, there's no different with our clients. They need to understand what their goal is, need to understand how long their goal is going to take, with help from yourself. And then you need to put a plan in place that is tailored to that. So if that's 12 weeks, then it should be a 12-week plan that your clients are coming on board with. Don't worry about how many sessions a week that is or anything like that, but they need to be committed to 12 weeks. Okay? So if that's the case, you bring them on board and you get your client their goals. And let's say by week 10, they're about 5-6 pounds away from their goal. And it's looking pretty good, right? So what we need to do then, as we take our clients through the process, is we need to start doing what's called future pacing them. So that means we need to start asking them some questions now. Around about week 8 onwards, as a weekly event, we need to start asking, what is it they'd like to do that they've never told us about? What is it that they would like to do that they believe they could do now based on the changes they've seen in themselves in the last 10 weeks? Like, what are those kind of hidden goals that they haven't told anyone or even uttered themselves because they didn't think it was possible? I'll give you an example. I've got a client who's just finished a year program with me, and we took him through a year. He worked with me for a year, didn't get any results for a year as classic PT. Years and years ago, he came back last year, a year and a half back, and I said, "This is what we need to do." Went through the points I've made in this video about the training style and what's important to focus on, habits, mindset, so. He came on board. He got down to 104 kilograms from 115 in 12 weeks. I then asked him from week 7, 8 onwards, what would he love to be able to achieve if he had the opportunity around health, fitness, or around his businesses, or around just his life in general. Like, what are the big goals that he'd love to be able to do that he thinks he could do now? And look, his was a fitness one. He said, I'd love to go and enter and win a bench press competition. I was like, a bench press competition? He's like, yeah, like I just want to be able to go into one of these strongman competitions and just smash it. And I'm like, okay, how important would that be to you? Like, how much do you want to do that? He's like, if I'm honest, I've always wanted to do it since I was a kid. I've just never done it. Awesome. Now that is a great. So then we can say, look, how would that feel? You know, the future pacing comes from asking questions about how would it feel to be able to walk out of that competition winning, your hands raised, like a year from now. It'd be amazing. So you can start asking people just these questions. Where do you want to be a year from now? Like, what would be like an amazing achievement in terms of your shape, your health, your fitness? You know, just a goal that you'd love to achieve, that you think you can now that you've done this and you know that you can do more than maybe you thought. Find out the answer to that question. Start future pacing. Just like when you're going, like if you're going on holiday to Australia, you start fantasizing about, you know, what you do. Oh, I'm going to go surfing, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Same thing, ask those questions, man. What would it be like? Yeah. Get the answers that you need. Then say to them, look, I'm going to go away and I'm going to put a plan together for you based on that. And I don't know whether it's a fit for you or not, but it could be. Are you happy to have a chat about that? If I go together and put a plan together on how it works, and it might be for you, it might not, but you know, I'll certainly put a plan. And then you get all your information, all the knowledge that you know about them, show them what they've done over the 12 weeks, and just put a plan together to move them forward. Now, it could be 6 weeks, so it could be another 12 weeks, sorry, it could be 6 months, it could be 12 months. My client came on for 12 months. He made a strong commitment up front to do that for 12 months. And we carried on working on his new goal. Look, it's not something that happens every time, but my numbers are this. If I take 5 clients through a transformation, 1, sometimes 2 will come on and do my year program. And that's a big number when you start thinking about it. And I don't know how much you charge, and I'm not here to sort of talk about your prices and stuff, but let's just say that you charge, just for argument's sake, let's say you charged £1,000 for 12 weeks. Well, 12 months starts looking like a decent investment. You can get anywhere from, you can have 12 weeks from that one client, or £1,000 from that one client, or you could have something like £5,000–6,000 from that one client over a year, you know, and have that in your pocket much faster than you would think. But even if they did it in installments, you have that client signed in for a longer period of time. But the retaining of that client will come from understanding what their secret goal is and how you get them to that goal. So, guys, look, I've really enjoyed kind of going through some of the main things that my book covers. Actually, in more detail here than what you would get from my book. So hopefully, it's given you some cool insights on what it is that you want to do with your online guys and how to get there. But what I have got is this new program that I did run last year. I'm going to run it again. In fact, it's just kicked off, and I'm holding it for 5 people maximum. I've already got 2 people in there, so I'm just wanting to fill the last 3 spots. And it's called my Rapid Results Program, where ultimately I'm going to take you through the process of bringing you either a new client on board to an online program, or taking a current client who's not getting results and taking them through an online process. And we're going to break it down week by week. I'm going to be with your client every single week, showing you what to focus on, how to get the results, how to make sure that you empower the changes and keep the excuses down to a minimum, and actually get your clients to where they want to go. And then how to start looking at structuring it so that you can keep that client on for 12 more months. If you want to find out a bit more about that, here's what I've decided to do. I've put a little code here, you can see in orange, PTD for me, and then your pet's name. This is going to go out into the group, okay, as a video. So in the comments, just type in PTD for me, and after that, the name of your pet. And I'll know that you've got right to the end of this video and got that instruction. So anyway, great chatting away. Hopefully I'll speak to you soon. Take care.